Hi, and welcome everybody. My name is Brittany Quemby, and I am the Director of Marketing at HITMC, and I'm here today with Matt DiVenere, the Senior Content Specialist at naviHealth. Welcome, Matt. Thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Today we are going to speak with Matt. He is our recent Rising Star winner in Health IT for the 2021 Medigy HITMC Awards. And we're just going to be talking through a few questions to getting to know Matt and what he's been up to and a little bit about winning the award. So thanks again for being here. I'll jump right into our first question. So just for the folks who might not know you, I know you're kind of well known within the community, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And at HITMC, we like to do a fun fact. So if you can give the community one fun fact about you, that would be great.
Yes, so I am a marketing specialist at naviHealth, but I've been in healthcare marketing for a few years now. Former journalist, started at a very small local newspaper, made my way down from Vermont to Massachusetts to do a number of different marketing opportunities, but settled in healthcare and couldn't be happier. My fun fact about me is I love to cook. I actually drove down for a MasterChef interview sort of thing from Vermont all the way down to Massachusetts. I remember cooking the meal at like 3 a.m. in Burlington, driving down with a hot plate on my lap the 4 hours to get in line to wait just to see if somebody else would like my food other than the family and friends who ate it for free, who always liked it, right? So yeah, I'm very into food.
That is wild. So they make you make it ahead of time and bring it down. So it's not even like you can make it there. So you have to kind of keep it warm on the way down for them to test.
Yes. I had to plate it in front of the judges.
Right.
Joe Bastianich was the person for me. It was season 2. He tasted it and he nodded and he moved on, and that's all I got. But I was happy with it, so that was good.
I mean, if anything, it's a fun experience. I had a girlfriend who was a foodie too and a really good cook, and she's kind of taught me some things. And we had Top Chef Canada, I think it was called, and she did something similar, her and her sister. But they said that they nodded and they were trying to do the whole sister duo thing, but they eventually passed on them.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. And so tell us a little bit about your role at naviHealth and kind of what are the things that you do there as a senior content specialist?
My role at naviHealth is really with external thought leadership content. I have a management position in terms of the naviHealth Essential Insights, our blog, the weekly newsletter. With that, we talk a lot of content. So you're thinking blogs, as well as our podcast, Soap Notes with Dr. Jay Levine, our Chief Medical Officer. I also manage our white papers, case studies. I work with our social media team, and I do work across departments on fun new initiatives from a marketing perspective.
Awesome. Sounds like a lot. As a content person, you have kind of a broad spectrum of things that you typically work on, right? So I know you guys have been, doing a lot of stuff within the past year. And I know the past year has been quite challenging for basically everyone in the world. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've been working on in the past year.
So when the pandemic hit, we had to really shift what we were doing in terms of content. For the blog specifically, we took a step back. We actually took a month off of publishing, and I sat around the room with a number of different folks and tried to re-strategize what we were going to do. And what we found was us internally, we had a lot of pain points in terms of trying to fight through the news for positive stories, especially in the senior community, which is what we're based in. Not only that, but we had to help cut through the noise of the news. Publications in the media were spinning out of control with a number of different news stories. Every hour was changing the story and what was happening. So we really wanted to connect with our audience and just provide a service and provide an opportunity for those to cut through that noise and find some positive stories when we could. So when we looked at our calendar, which got scraped very quickly in March, moving forward, what we did was we just said, what do I need to know as someone who is working in this industry? What will the providers need to know? What will payers need to know in this tumultuous time? What can we do to better serve them? So we came up with a plan and we executed on it. And our viewers and our readers really appreciated it in terms of our stats.
That's amazing. And I think I read some stats here about your blog, and it's called naviHealth Essential Insights, right? And readership grew, or almost tripled in the I think the first couple months when you kind of rejigged what you guys were doing for your audience. Can you talk just a little bit about some of those accomplishments?
Yeah, so year over year, our growth in the blog for page views, things like that, was over 200%. And our new newsletter subscribers was over 25% year over year. These numbers directly reflected what we were doing just based on connecting with the senior population, like I had mentioned. Our goal as a company shifted towards the seniors at the beginning of January 2020, and it just aligned from a content perspective. We need to explore this area and bring to light a lot of the things with the senior community and the senior population in terms of care and things like that. They were exposed during COVID-19. Right. The issue is a lot of it was happening before as well. So we were continuing that stories, but not necessarily shedding just negative light, which is something that a lot of articles did around skilled nursing facilities and nursing homes. They were very much the target of the media at times. Right. What our goal was to kind of balance it. Yes, there is change that needs to happen. We need to redesign care for seniors. And we had our experts as well as external experts weigh in on that and basically give them the blog as a vehicle to create that innovation and just flesh those thoughts out.
Yeah, that's incredible. And, during a time where I think mainstream media was, flooded with, a lot of, not great light stories on the senior homes. And, as you said, there was a lot of things that were happening pre the pandemic anyways that probably needed to be solved. But I think, being a source of, true information and accurate information for seniors where they might not necessarily know where to get that information, or maybe they're online and seeing false information. I think it's amazing that you guys were able to kind of be that source of truth for that audience during a time where they probably felt very, very either confused or helpless and not know where to look. So I think that's incredible. And it kind of talking in some of these projects, is there a certain project in the last year that you're most proud of, or that you love to talk about in terms of your career this past year?
I do. So I'm going to plug my podcast, Soap Notes, with Dr. Jay Levine. I am so proud internally of what we've accomplished, what we've been able to do. Having Jay as our partner externally and internally has been great. He is perfect for a podcast. He's very personable. And the guests that we've had that have been very excited to talk to Dr. Levine have been outstanding. We've had Dr. James E.K. Hildreth. We've had Dr. Patrick Conway, just to name a couple. And the knowledge that they've brought to the podcast and just furthering those conversations, the goal of the blog as a whole aligned with the podcast. It was just being able to just give these innovators the space to breathe for a minute and just think what's happened in the past, what can happen in the future, and what are the tangible steps we could take to move forward with it. It's been a blast, and we will have new episodes coming out soon. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. Well, and just so everyone knows, what's the name of the podcast so we can plug it a little more?
Yes, it's called Soap Notes with Dr. Jay Levine. You can find
Awesome.
it on the naviHealth Essential Insights blog right now, but we will have some exciting plugs coming up as well. So
Perfect.
I feel like I'm just boasting about the newsletter and stuff, but yeah, it's very exciting. Just stay tuned, I guess.
Awesome. Cool. So switching gears a little bit, let's just talk about the award for a minute. So as you know, most people know or may not know, Matt won our Rising Star Award in Health IT in our May HITMC Awards. So Matt, I just want to talk to you a little bit about, how did you feel? I love knowing how people felt or what their reaction was when they found out that they won the award.
Oh, I screamed. I was so excited. I couldn't even put into words. I read the email again and again, and I think I actually even responded to Colin, making sure it wasn't like a mistake, because it was just such a humbling moment. I couldn't believe it. Still, like to this day, like when people tell, like I have to take a second and think. Yes, that actually did happen to me. Yes.
Well, and definitely, and you are in good company. We've had some amazing people who have won the award in the past. You're obviously doing such amazing things at your company. So can you give us a little insight into what the award, winning the award means to you?
Yeah, it was certainly humbling, and I think it's from a personal perspective, it meant the world. Not too long ago, I was a hard grizzled journalist, I would say, in the automotive industry. I grew up thinking, my ultimate goal is to be a sports anchor on ESPN. I wanted to be Stuart Scott. I wanted to be Scott Van Pelt. That was like the whole thing. Right. I grew up in Bristol, Connecticut, where ESPN is located. So it was like, that's just the natural progression, right? That's where I'm going to go. When you make a decision in your professional life that blends your personal and professional choices, and it's such a drastic change to go from journalism to healthcare marketing, there's a hesitancy in the back of your head that just stays there. It's kind of like that imposter syndrome that you hear a lot. You can never take it for granted that, yes, you know how to write, yes, you know how to do things, but you're in a whole new world, to quote Aladdin there. But it's really a big jump. It's a big leap. And to get this recognition and to just receive it from this community was just just a moment of like, I did it. Like, this was the right choice. This was the right move to make. And I couldn't be happier.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think we all kind of have those moments too. And I talk about this quite often, but healthcare marketing it's a beast, right? And if you're new to the industry, or you're kind of just dabbling in, it can be overwhelming, and you can have those second thoughts like, do I know what I'm doing? And am I going to be able to kind of grasp everything and hone my own skills in here? So, I think it's nice to hear, everybody has those types of thoughts and, feelings before you kind of jump full-heartedly into the industry. And, speaking about healthcare, it's constantly changing, whether it's from regulations or new health IT organizations or health IT technology. What gets you most excited about the work that you do in healthcare?
It's a great question. It's telling the stories of our senior population, and not only just from a patient perspective, but also from the providers as well. There's so many great stories in healthcare that you could really resonate with. When you talk about the senior population, there's a little extra glimpse in your heart that just really hits you. I mean, everybody's had a grandparent who's, had some issues at the end of their life, or, just was hoping to just be able to get from point A to point B in the discharge process smoothly and have hiccups along the way. Everyone's gone through it. So to be able to share the stories of success to be able to see these providers go above and beyond to help out their patients, especially during COVID. We had nurses and care coordinators at the sites outside with the signs saying, you know, you could do it, we love you. That's the stuff that keeps you going, those heartfelt moments. Yes, healthcare marketing is a beast. I love that you said that, because there's going to be days where you're like, I have no idea what this waiver means, how this impacts. It's going to take you time to figure it out. But when you can finally piece it all together and see that end result of, you know, grandma and grandpa having one more day at home, or you know, being able to get, you know, the care that they need in the right setting, there's no better feeling.
So true. And I think you're right. It does, you know, pull at your heartstrings. I was so close with my grandparents growing up. And, you know, when you think of, you know, the elderly or elderly care, or making sure that they're, you know, taken care of, whether at home or, you know, in a center, wherever they are, it does, you know, just pull a little bit harder than, at least for me, than other, you know, other things may. And, you know, you touched on a little bit, but, you know, what impact, you know, you kind of talked about the senior population, but, you know, can you talk a little bit more about the impact that you feel that your work, you know, has had on your clients, or in, you know, your industry in general?
So my work directly? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my work directly within case studies and white papers, being able to help bring our products and our services to hospitals and post-acute care settings, and building those strong networks for referrals and just post-acute care is crucial to the whole process of senior care. I think what naviHealth excels at is getting the patient to the right setting. If that means home, we're going to bring you home, and we're going to do the things that we need to help you out there. And we're going to work with the payers and providers to be able to give you the best outcome. I think that's the part that helps. So when we work with a team, like our business development team in sales, and we're looking at new clients, we don't necessarily look at them as that client. We look at them as, this is one more step in this patient journey that we're trying to piece together for them to make things that much easier for everyone.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm so glad you said something like that. My mom is a primary caregiver for my stepdad, who has had, he's not elderly, but he has had a brain injury. And just those little things that can be done to help the transition from hospital to home or hospital to care and everything in between is so valuable to, you know, like you said, your clients or the end user. It's, and you know, it might seem small, but it literally is such a valuable piece that you can provide to that end user, that they can, that just takes a little bit of stress off of their back. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we have a counting number of days at home. We try to get our seniors to have more days at home. That's our standard that we live by internally, and it's just such a great number, because when you think about it from a personal perspective, it means a lot.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about kind of going forward. So, you know, you mentioned you've had changed your career, or you've evolved your career. You were a journalist and then kind of stepped into the role that you're in now. Where would you like to see your career go over the next few years?
So everybody has these goals, right? Where they want to kind of keep pushing forward. And I think I'm on the same track as everyone else. I want to continue to find new ways to do things, to develop new processes that are more efficient and perform well. I believe being able to work with folks who align with what you're hoping for, but probably bring a little bit of knowledge too, really helps. I think surrounding yourself with the best team and being able to continue to build forward is the best bet for any success, individually or in a group. So I think for my future, what I'm hoping to do is continue to build on what I've been learning, continue to collaborate with people, not only internally, but externally in the HITMC community, which has meant a ton to me. to be able to push me forward and get me to do things that, you know, may not have been the way that we've done them before, but we're going to try it and
Right.
see what happens. So.
And you mentioned kind of the HITMC community, and I'll kind of throw a curveball here, but you know, we have people, we have veterans within the community, and then we have, you know, new people who might just be starting off within the community. Do you have any advice on, you know, how or things that they can do to kind of immerse themselves in the community or get the best, you know, the best help or experience out of the community?
Yes. So I think I've said this on a number of the Twitter chats that we have. I would not be in healthcare marketing if it wasn't for Twitter and the HITMC community. I stumbled upon it from a friend who said, you know, you should really attend this conference in Boston. You should really just give it a shot, see what it is. And it clearly has changed my life, both personally and professionally. It's been fantastic. I know social media is, for some, a place where there's a lot of negativity and a lot of just awfulness. And I hear you, but I believe you get what you give into a community like that. And being involved in the Twitter chats and just reaching out and connecting with fellow HITMCers is the best way to get started. You know, leap forward. We are all here to support each other. And I think that's the community part that you won't find anywhere else.
I love that. And thank you to whichever friend, you know, suggested you go to that conference. That's amazing. We wouldn't have you if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
All right. And, you know, recently you were part of our Twitter chat recently where we kind of talked about social media trends and kind of what's up and coming, you know, from a social media perspective. And I always like to ask, you know, what is one trend, you know, that you'd like to try in your industry or in your role that you've never done before, that, you know, that you hope to maybe do or accomplish over the next couple of years?
I think COVID taught us that in-person conferences are a wonderful luxury. And I think it's something that there's going to be a place for it. But what I'm interested in is how the virtual conference is held for a lot, the ROI for it, and from a content perspective, what that means to be able to have in-house all this great content, feature all these great speakers, subject matter experts, and to be able to host it all from an analytics perspective, to be able to see, you know, what topics were important, what topics weren't, and how you could build off of that. I love looking at these content development ideas and just picking and just poking at every single little piece and manipulating it however we can to maximize what the outcome is. I'm very interested to see how we shift virtual events to more of a hybrid of a virtual event and a webinar, where there's back and forth, there's interaction, there's a beefier Q&A,
right,
from what I'm hoping for. And that's where I'd like to see and I'd like to be, because not everybody can travel a lot. You know, it's difficult for physicians and nurses and stuff to get the time and then be able to dedicate that 3 weeks or 3 days, 4 days to be able to just sit there and not be on their phone all day, like, you know, while they're at the conference. This could be a way that we reach more lives and reach a wider audience. So something I'm looking at.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, the hybrid model is I think it's here to stay for sure. As you mentioned, not everybody can travel. Sometimes, you know, even as, you know, as a mom, it's hard to, you know, commit 4 days to be away. So to have that flexibility, to be able to do kind of maybe 1 day or some at home, I think that will be able to really, you know, satisfy a lot of the audience that we might not have done before. And it's nice. I mean, unfortunately, COVID kind of pushed that forward for us, but it's nice that we have those options and opportunities to do that with from an event perspective.
I think it's the one thing to take away from the pandemic for me was we became like humans again to marketers. I don't mean to be as like big of a mention of that, but you know, when you do event marketing and things like that, and you're trying to get people to attend your conferences, you're really looking at the big numbers and things like that. But with this virtual world that we were living in, you were in people's living rooms. You had the kids behind you, most meetings, or the dog, or you know, the mailman, somebody's knocking at the door. So now moving forward, when these events happen, for parents, for people who need that extra opportunity, I think that's made the connection a little bit easier for folks. Like, oh, why aren't they attending my conferences? Well, it's not just your drip email campaign. You know, like, there's a lot of personal barriers there that I think marketing is starting to understand, and in our industry especially. So this hybrid match, I think, will really benefit everybody.
Yeah, and I think you said that best. I think pre-COVID, we really, you know, we kind of lost, or not lost sight, but we kind of ignored that, you know, we are actually humans, and there's things outside of what's going on, you know, from a corporate perspective, that may be barriers or reasons why, you know, we're not reading the email, or, you know, engaging with something on social media, or coming to the event. So I think COVID, like you said, allowed us to kind of step back and really, like you said, be human again. And I think that is, you know, I'll be forever grateful for that, because that's what we all are, and that's why we're all here. Awesome. So, you know, we're kind of getting to a time where we're going to wrap it up here. So I've just kind of one last question. You kind of talked about a little bit about of what, you know, folks can do to immerse themselves in the HITMC community. But, you know, as a new, or it's not new, but, you know, you were once new into healthcare. So what is, you know, one solid piece of advice that you would give to someone, you know, who's looking to kind of make that leap into the healthcare industry?
I think the biggest piece of advice I can give is to find somebody either in your network or at your job that you can just talk to and connect with. They could be somebody at the same level as you. They could be a VP, whoever you can get in touch with, and just connect and ask those silly questions. I think the first month or so, I asked a number of our subject matter experts silly question after silly question. And I'm sure after some of the meetings, they came away and said, he's got a lot to learn. But, you know, it's that opportunity to learn. You need to have that hunger to learn. You need to keep going. You know, the second you think you have something under wraps in healthcare, it's going to change, or there's going to be a lobby against it that you're going to read about and say, that's a completely different way of thinking about it, and it changes everything. So I think the best piece of advice I can give is to ask the silly question and just keep the hunger and wanting to learn more and more. You'll get there, I promise. And none of us are at 100% capacity yet. So just keep going.
Awesome. Great advice. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you again, Matt, for being here with us and kind of giving us an insight into your win and what you do at naviHealth, and, you know, what you've been up to this past year. We really appreciate it, and I know the community is going to love it. So thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks again.
I am Brittany Quemby signing off at HITMC. Thank you.